All right. Who would love to have an ice cream right now? That'd be awesome. I know. I don't have any to give you today. I'm very sorry. That was really mean of me. But it's really summer now. Like it is truly summer. This is what I don't know. You can't tell it by how pasty white I am, but I love summer. I'm built for winter, but summer is my jam. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love summer so much. I don't know if it was something because I was born in summer and my birthday's in the summer or what it was, but there is something about, maybe it's school. I think that's what it is. I was free from school growing up, so I just have this love for summer months and the freedom it gives. It's so wonderful that our culture was built on agriculture so that we could have these few months. You know, kids aren't going to come to school when their parents need them in the field, so we can't have school. And kids today, if you didn't know that, you're welcome. You know what? The farmers of America saved you from having to go to school in the summer months. Or you'd be going to school all year long like other countries that are developed countries. They go to school a lot more days than you do. But because we have this tradition, we get summers off. It makes no sense, but it's wonderful, right? And even grandparents in the room are like, yes, we get to spend more time with our grandkids and we're families around and people are able to travel. And you probably have travel plans. You may be going somewhere this summer for vacation and heading off. And it's kind of like, vacation can happen anytime, but we always look at summer and like, I'm getting some summertime, I'm getting away. Some of you get away every weekend in the summer. You own a boat, and you're a boater or a laker. Well, I can't say you're a laker because if you're a Murray Tiger, then you don't want to be a laker. But you go out on the lake, and you're in a boat, and you spend time, and isn't work so much better in the summer? Like, it's better because on Monday, nobody comes in with a crabby face. They've at least had a few moments of happiness for the weekend, and they at least are just a little bit of approachable in the summer, and it's kind of like everybody's kind of loose, laid back. Those of you who are in retirement, I know you feel this all the time, but even for you, summer becomes this time when we just relax. We soak it. In fact, we talk about just soak it all in, guys, because you know what we know is coming? Fall and horrible things. That's what we know. And summer is so wonderful. You guys are with me, right? Summer is so wonderful. But here's my question today. What if we could just learn how to take the best things of summer with us, right? Can you guys put that up on the slide? What if we could find the best parts of summer and take them with us when we go? If there was a way to bring summer into all the future seasons that aren't so good, because work just gets worse and relationships get worse. And then we get into fall and it's like we're never going to make it to December. It's like December, it's the next break, or maybe Thanksgiving for you is the next break, but you start looking at holidays, and you're like, well, really with family, holidays aren't really great anyway. But we have no break like summer. But what if we could take the best things about summer, keep it with us all year long, and make our lives better? That'd be wonderful, right? And that's what I want to try to do in the next 2 weeks. Today, I want to talk about, I've already prayed about it, you heard me pray about earlier, that I want to talk about joy. But next week, I want to talk about what rest looks like. Because if we could take joy and true rest into our future, oh my goodness, wouldn't life be so much better? You wouldn't be stressed by things going on. You wouldn't be so worried all the time or anxious about whatever's going on in your life. You wouldn't be so strained by the relationships that pull at you. Your finances, while they may not be perfect, they wouldn't just pull away everything from you. What if you could walk away and know today that you had joy, and next week we'll talk about rest? That would be wonderful, right? Well, that's what I want to get into today. I want to try and figure out if there's a way for us to take some things with us from summer to make our summers better, but also make just life in general better. So here's what I want to help you think about this. See, summertime is so great and good, not because it causes something in us, but because it's correlated with something. You guys know about correlation versus causation, right? See, I think what we look at our vacations, and we look at our time out on the golf course, or we look at these times with our grandkids for whole days, we get to go and do something together. But you look at all these great moments that summer brings, and you think, yeah, it's summer. Summer is just a joyful time. Other times of the year just aren't very good. And I think that's false. I think we're missing something. We tend to think of all these events and things that bring us joy, but they're just correlated with our joy. And I think there's something that causes us joy that if we don't link up, there's a secret to our joy that we don't see as the hidden cause behind these things. And we don't study it and dig around in it enough to figure it out. And so throughout the year, you think, well, summer vacation was great, but if I can make it to fall break, I just need a vacation at fall break. Man, if I could just make it to Christmas. And all year long, you're just waiting for that next piece of summer to show up, that next little break. And I want to release you from all that. hopefully to change your mind to think about how joy happens in your life today so that you can carry it with you past summer. So I just want to jump into some teaching from Jesus. That Jesus says this about joy. He said, I have told you this so that my joy may be in you. Now this is interesting. Jesus thinks that he can put some joy in you. He thinks he can bring some of his joy to you, which begs the question, well, what was Jesus' joy? What is his joy about? He had summers too, right? He did. He enjoyed them, right? He enjoyed them like a boss out on the lake a lot of times, right? He's out with his disciples a lot in a boat. So he was fishing and doing all the fun stuff too. But here's the thing he tells us, a writer about Jesus tells us in Hebrews about Jesus' joy. He says this, for the joy set before him, he endured the cross. Now that's interesting, right? Doesn't sound fun, but it's interesting. Like the joy Jesus had was so powerful and so strong that it helped him endure the cross. Like it helped him endure the worst thing in his life. This joy he had got him through it. For the joy set before him, he was able to endure the cross. Now that's interesting. I would like to be able to tap into Jesus' joy. If that's what Jesus' joy looks like, I would love a joy that would help me make it through my mundane weeks of work. If I could just get some of that joy, maybe I could make it through the really, really tough semester of school. If I could get some of that joy, then maybe the relationship struggles or the financial struggles wouldn't be so bad. Maybe I could figure out how to face them as well. That's interesting, right? So here's what I want to point out about Jesus' joy. That maybe we're not going to see the whole picture of Jesus' joy this morning, but there's definitely one piece of it I want you to learn about this, is Jesus saw joy as a starting point. But we often view joy as a result rather than a starting point. See, you think of your joy as something you get once you've done something. Well, I have joy once I go on vacation. And I have joy at vacation, and I have this little bit of joy, and it lasts me, till about Monday afternoon, and I realize I'm back at the routine. But I have this joy. It came as a result of being away. If I could get away more, I could get more joy. And it's not a result. Jesus says, no, it's a starting point. It's a starting point because there is a joy that actually can be in your life that allows you to endure and do great things. It allows you to do something you didn't think was possible. There's a joy that empowers you and pushes you forward. It's a starting point, not an ending point. So that's interesting because we don't often view joy that way at all. And we are often approaching our joyful times like summer with one mindset. I've got to go get some joy. I got to go find some joy. I got to go figure out where this joy lands because I don't have it. And Jesus says, no. If my joy is in you, you have joy. You have a starting point. So you use that. So let's go to the next part. He says this, my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be complete. So he says, look, if you can access my joy the way I think about it and use it as a starting point, listen, you have some joy already. I'm not going to take that away from you, but I would love to make your joy complete. I would like to make it better. I would like to make it whole, perfect. Together we can do this. Jesus is like, my joy in you can make your joy complete, like you're missing it, which begs the question again, well, what's missing from my joy? What is it that I'm truly missing? Because I hear what you're saying, okay, that's fine. I'd love to have a joy like Jesus that sustains me, it pushes me through, and helps me get through all this rough stuff in life. Oh, I'm bought in, I can handle that. Even if I'm not a follower of Jesus, I'd love to figure out what that looks like. So what is it we're missing? Here's what I think we're missing. See, we think what we're missing is more. See, if I could have more vacation time, if I could have maybe more wealth and freedom, that's really what, man, if I could figure out how to have the wealth and freedom to kind of be free to operate the way I want to. A lot of times my joy is just not very joyful because I'm forced to go to this job or I'm forced to be around these people. Or, man, if I just had the freedom to get away, then that more wealth and freedom would give me the joy I'm looking for. Or for some of you, like you got to retirement and you're like, okay, it's time for my more. I've been like dealing with summer vacation times my whole life, but now that I'm on vacation, I have vacation. Like my life is vacation. If you quickly realize that retirement isn't actually that, you have more free time, but you actually don't have as much joy as you thought you would in that. And for some of you, you've done this thing where you do the vacation thing and you have this set place you've been going, it's Destin or maybe it's down to the Gulf or maybe it's into the mountains and you have this place you've been going and you're going for a few years, but there's just, man, in your mind you're like, man, maybe there's a better place. You've just gotten kind of stale and you keep thinking, man, I need to upgrade. I need to go for that little bit better place. Boy, I wish we could get down more, if we could get down that way toward that place or If we could do this, man, if we could get the whole family to go, it'd be nice if we could get grandma and grandpa and all these different cousins. Man, maybe that would make it more joyful. And you keep chasing more. And there's a problem with that because we have this thing called the law of diminishing enjoyment that's just part of who we are as humans. Because once we reach a level of happiness, it seems like it takes more things to get us there. Like it's never enough to just go on a vacation. It's got to be a better vacation. Or it's got to be more vacation. Or it's got to be more time. And we never get satisfied with anything we're wanting. That's because what we're doing is we're trying to figure out how to chase joy that only comes from one piece. It's our personal gratification. But joy is not found in personal gratification at all. See, that's the problem. We're looking for joy in the wrong place. It's not even a starting point for us. We're going to look for it. It's a result from something, and we think it only comes from us getting what we want. And if I can get enough of what I want, I'm joyful. But that's actually not the case. In fact, an author I read a few months ago writes this about what true joy is. He says, true joy, as it turns out, comes only to those who have devoted their lives to something greater than personal happiness. Well, that's interesting. Because if you think about some people that you think of as having great joy, that's true of them, isn't it? They don't always get what they want. They don't always have the most vacation. They don't always have more of things that other people have. But they seem to have joy. They seem to have something greater they're connected to. So this is kind of what Jesus teaches, isn't it? Let me go back to verse 11. I've told you this. Well, what did he tell us? See, I skipped to verse 11. I didn't tell what was before that. But see, Jesus says, I'll tell you this so that my joy may be in you and your joy may be complete. Well, what did he tell us? What is this secret? What is this greater happiness that he seems to be drawing us into? Here's what it is in verse 10. He says, if you keep my commands, you will remain in my love. And just as I have kept my Father's commands and remain in his love. And I want you to forget about the commands part. We're going to get to that in a second. But listen, focus on this remain in his love part. Jesus says, and we know this to be true, that the true source of joy, the true thing that gives us the most joy is our connection. A connection when things are right in our relationship with God and with other people in our lives. Here's what you've correlated in your life. You've had some great vacations where you went somewhere and you had a wonderful time and you kept thinking, man, getting away from work was what it was. No. You know why? You went to that vacation and you had a connection with some people that gave you a greater joy and a sense of greater happiness than what you get when you just go looking for yourself. And you stumbled on it accidentally when you've gotten together with family at holidays even. And there were these times when you were focused on, man, I just need a break. And you're waiting for people to serve you. And nothing turned out right those holidays. But there have been other holidays where you've gone into holidays and you've been like, you know what? I've got so much joy and energy. I'm going to go into this holiday new and I'm going to give people what they need and I'm going to give away. And you found yourself walking away from that with more joy. Because here's what Jesus is trying to point out. When you do these things, you remain connected to your Heavenly Father. You remain connected in such a way that connection draws you in. Because Jesus' joy was grounded in his connection with the Father. And that's how he found joy. It wasn't in getting what he wanted. He found it in this relationship, in this connection. So my question for you now is to be like, well, how do you stay connected to people and to God? How do you remain in the Father's love? How do you remain in Jesus' love? How do you stay in that spot? And you all go, well, what you do is you just stay away from the people who are mean. No. Well, you just run away when you get tired. You run off to vacation. No. Remaining seemed to be something very simple to Jesus. He said, just keep my commands. And we all go, I can't keep Jesus' commands. There's no way I can keep my commands. That's why he made it very simple for us. He said, if you're going to come follow me, if you want to be a part of my love and my joy, if you want my joy to be in you, let me make it really, really simple. There's just one command you really have to grab onto. There's just one thing you really have to kind of dig into. It's this in verse 12. My command is this, love each other as I have loved you. And the as is really big there. And Jesus seems to be looking at us going, look, no, you know this. The secret to joy is really quite simple, isn't it? The secret to joy is found in the way you celebrate other people. Isn't it? Like, think about your birthday. Is it more fun to celebrate your own birthday and open a couple of gifts? Or is it more fun for you to buy something secret for a good friend or for your spouse or for your kids and to know it's coming and to be like, oh man, their birthday's going to be so good. I got this perfect gift for them. Which one's more joyful for you? Which one sustains you longer into the work week? Waiting for your birthday to happen or waiting for somebody else's birthday you've been planning? We know it's the second. When you start to celebrate other people, when you start to figure out how to love them as Jesus loved you, that brings the joy to your life that you've been looking for, not the personal gratification. Think about it at work. When you celebrate the people at your work and you go, I don't have anybody to celebrate. They're just terrible to work with. They're pulling me down all the time. Whoa, wait a minute. There have been times at work when you've been having a really, really joyful time. And it's when you were focused on what other people needed, not what on you needed. And it's when you were able to take your energy and give it to somebody else at work and help them through a tough day. It's when you had that moment at the water cooler when this person was really having tough talk and they didn't know what to do and you sat there for just 5 minutes. This is just 5 minutes out of your day, but you gave something to them, encouragement, a pat on the back. Maybe you just told them, hey, I've been there. Maybe you just commiserated with them. But you walked away with being like, man, that was a pretty good day at work today. Maybe it's the way you approached your children. Maybe rather than looking at all the time you have to spend with them because, toddlers are terrible. That's why they call it the terrible twos. There's nothing to do. You can't play with them. They don't know how to communicate well. They get to feeling this and you don't know. And it just gets to be, it's a drain. But when you start to focus on something besides your own needs in the moment, you start to gain something, a joy that's deeper. And Jesus says, listen, this is why I gave my life. It was the joy that was set before me that pushed me through the tough thing of giving up my life for you. But what I saw on the other side was the chance, the joy of celebrating you, getting to be part of us, this family. Regardless of your color or your race or your religion or your identity, all of that was put away. I just saw this joy that we would get to be together. And that drove me through. Because here's what I know about my own personal gratification. There is no vacation that will push me through long enough. There is no summer activity that's going to help me get over that hump. But what if I could figure out this secret? What if I could figure out this secret of what Jesus says is really the main piece of what joy is? So how do we do this? How do we figure out how to celebrate other people and make celebrating other people the main thing? You go to verse 13 and he says this, greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. So you think of laying down your life as literally dying. But what Jesus is talking about here is something much different. He's not talking about you dying. He's talking about you laying down your personal desires for something so that others can have theirs. It creates a sense of joy in you to lay down your life for others. And the reason I know this is true is because just look at how you can twist and take everyday things and make them joyful when you look at it this way. You know that the dishes are terrible. I was going to say terrible, but I guess that's true. The dishes are terrible, right? The dishes are awful. Doing dishes after dinner, you're kind of full anyway, and all you do is you want to sit in your chair and relax for a minute. And you look around at all the other things you could be doing, and the dishes just seem like, why? Why can't we just go out to eat every night? Why can't somebody else do the dishes for me? Why don't I have a maid? That's something to look into. Listen, dishes are awful, but guess what? What if you turn this around? I'm going to do the dishes so nobody else has to. Everybody hates doing the dishes. It's a joy to do the dishes at somebody else's house when you think you're doing them a favor. But when you go home and it's your dishes and your family's sitting around, you think, why isn't somebody else doing the dishes for me? Isn't that weird? You ever gone to somebody's house and they're like, yeah, well, we got to get this project done. And they seem kind of like, oh, man, it's going to be tough. And you're like, no, this is going to be fun because it's their project. And you get to help them do this project just for a little bit. And you're like energized by this doing things for other people. And yet you don't make the connection between that experience and what is joyful for you every single day. If you gave more of your life away, you would have more access to the joy Jesus talks about. But you haven't made that connection, have you? You think, no, joy is getting away to the beach. No, joy is going to the lake. No, joy is getting away and being free from all these other things that tie me down. No. That's just a little bit of joy. That's not a complete joy. A complete joy is found in you laying down your life for others. This is the secret. And this is hard, right? Because the hard thing about this is that means you need to celebrate other people every single day. But the good news is you've been given a starting point. If you're a follower of Jesus, you already have a joy that is yours to start from. See, your joy started because Jesus was doing this for you. And He hands you this inheritance of joy that you get to start with, and you get to look forward to adding other people into this family by serving them really, really well and loving them really, really well. So if you could just figure out how to celebrate other people in your life, you actually would have more joy. And you would find your summer would get better, not because you get to get away, but because you are so energized by serving and giving to other people that you can't help but be joyful in the midst of something that really isn't that great. Oh, man, I can't believe we got to this. Oh, man, the condo. I'm so sorry, guys. The pictures online look so much better. It's all good. I'm so happy to be here with you guys. It doesn't matter. Let me clean it up for you. I'll go clean the bathrooms. I know they left early about last week. I'll go clean them. Y'all just take a break. You can bring energy and joy to something that nobody should have joy in because you're celebrating the other people that are around you. At work this week, what would it take for you to celebrate the people you're working with tomorrow? This would be a great habit. Like maybe you can't celebrate everybody, but can you celebrate somebody that's there? Can there be one person that you just kind of zero in on and be like, I'm going to figure out how to celebrate that person. I'm going to get their mail. I'm going to get their mail from the mailroom. I'm going to make sure it's on their desk. Oh, I tell you what I'm going to do. I usually don't do this, but I'm going to buy them lunch. They've been having a tough week. I'm going to buy them lunch. They're not going to know who it comes from. I'm just going to put their name on it, put it in the refrigerator, and be like, lunch for you, celebrating you today. It's just a matter of thinking it through, right? It's just a matter of taking the eyes off yourself and what you need and putting it on the other people in your life. Celebration. Celebration is actually a discipline. We think it's something we do because it's time to do it. But celebration is something you can do intentionally. Celebration is a way to discipline our attention and our affections. So here's my challenge for you. Can you create the life of discipline for celebration in your life? Can you create this routine and this intentionality of going into every day trying to figure out how to celebrate and draw your attention and draw your affections toward the other people in your life and less focus on what you need? Can you pull it away from your personal gratification for just a few minutes every day so you start to focus on the other people? Because here's what I know will happen. You'll gain the joy you've been looking for. You'll find the peace that you've been missing. You'll find this energizing thing that keeps drawing you forward despite what seems to be happening to you. Because you'll find such purpose and meaning that Jesus says, listen, my joy will be in you. The joy that took me through the cross will be in you. And your joy will be complete when you do this. And everybody looks at Jesus' commands and going, man, that's really hard. I know. But for the joy set on the other side, is it worth it giving up something maybe you want for what somebody else may need that day? Yes. And your joy could be complete because you do it. This is what's so amazing about joy. It's not a result. It is a starting point. And once you start to grab onto that and you use that joy in everyday situations. And you start moving around going, yeah, I've got a little bit of joy here. I'm gonna add and celebrate you. I'm going to celebrate you, and I'm going to celebrate you now. And I know, oh man, that's really difficult right now because my finances are in a crazy order, but I'm going to celebrate you right now instead of thinking about what I need. And listen, here's what happens. You get drawn forward into this amazing relationship with your Heavenly Father. C.S. Lewis wrote about it this way. He said, joy is not a satisfied desire, but an unsatisfied desire. Here's what he meant by that. He said, the joy you experience in this life, it gives you just an inkling, like a little glimpse into what your future could be like. Like the more you can give up of yourself, like joy starts to draw you into that, and it gets bigger and bigger, and snowballs. And he says that unsatisfied desire gives you a greater longing for God. Look at this. A deep longing for God, a hungry pursuit of God's heart that never ends and is more satisfying than any earthly happiness. Once you grab onto this joy, it pulls on you. You don't want to lose connection with it. You want to remain in Jesus' love. You want to remain in the Father's love because there you find that, no, I don't get what I want all the time, but I get the joy that I'm searching for. And it draws you into this unlimited access to who God is that's beyond anything you've ever experienced before. Which is why there are some people here that every Sunday, not because they love 5 a.m., but because they have a joy that's set before them. They get here and they start setting up screens and staging and running cables to TVs, and they go down here and they put up these little yellow walls that don't really do that great job of keeping 2 or 3-year-olds from running through them if they really wanted to, but it's a sense of like control, right? It's a sense of boundary. And there's people who get here early and they set up computers to make sure your kids have a little tag on their chest that you moms, like you're going to get your child back if something happens. Listen, and there are people that get here, they wear these green shirts and they make coffee. Not just for themselves, but for you. And why do they keep doing it over and over and over again? Because the joy of what they're doing for other people adds to their own joy in a way they never ever saw coming. Because they started giving some of themselves away. This is what I want you to do. I want you to celebrate somebody today. This is the challenge. Celebrate somebody today. Celebrate your parents, kids. Celebrate them. No, I'm not saying throw a party for them. I'm saying celebrate them. What would mom and dad love? What would make them at ease today? Hey, grandparents, those of you retired, listen, you have extra time. It doesn't feel like it some days because you are busy, you have things, I get it. But listen, you don't have a set schedule. And you think your routine is what gives you your happiness. It's not. This giving away thing does. So what if there's a few people you need to visit? Maybe it's just 10 or 15 minutes a day that you need to visit and talk to because they're just looking for somebody to relate to. And you've got the time to go do that. What if you could celebrate the person at the register and wherever you're going today to eat? And man, you can see it on their face, man. Work is not going well today. How could you celebrate that person? Because your joy is found in keeping that going and continuing to give yourself away, and it draws you into something much bigger than you. And that's where true joy is found. That's what the joy of summer is. You've just never realized it. It's in the way you give to other people at these different activities that you keep getting joy out of, and you don't even see it because we get so focused on ourselves. So here's the challenge. I want to pray for you. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard tomorrow. It's not going to feel right. But the discipline of celebration will change the way you view your life. And it will be a way you can take summer with you when it's all done. Let's pray. Father in heaven, thank you so much that we get a chance to bring joy to the people in our lives today, that we can celebrate them. And God, I know that the way you've set this up is that as we give away our lives, we get the joy we're looking for in return. We get something that is unlimited. We get access to you. And so, God, if we could figure out how to keep doing this on just small little things every day, to let that joy permeate our entire lives, not just summer, God, that would be awesome. So help us to do that. Help us to overcome the personal gratification, these desires that pull at us and pull us away and pull our attention away. But God, help us to use celebration as a way to redefine our attention and our affection. Let us put celebration on the forefront of our minds at work and with our families, and as we go on vacation, and as we hit the golf course, and as we go on the lake, and as we go out to eat, and all the things we love doing, God, help us to also have on our lens of celebration for other people. In your son's name we ask it. Amen.